A negative externality is a transaction between two parties that has a negative effect on a third party not taking part in the transaction. Now let's see what it looks like on a graph. Here's a visual illustrating a negative externality. The red line is the marginal social benefit. This line represents demand for a good. The blue line that intersects the marginal social benefit at point A is the private marginal cost. The private marginal cost is the cost of producing a good. Point A is the equilibrium point where the benefit and cost are equal. Point A is the place the company will naturally produce at in a free market as it benefits the company the most. Since nobody knows what most of those words mean, I'm going to simplify that. The red line is the consumer's benefit from the good, and the private marginal cost is what it costs the company to make the good. This, as we learned, or at least should have learned, has an equilibrium point, which is labeled here as point A. Point A is at quantity Q, where the benefit is equal to the cost, making it the natural equilibrium point. Quantity Q is the amount to be produced to provide the most benefit to the producer and the consumer, but this does not include the effects on third parties. Some transactions have negative effects on third parties, people who are neither the consumer nor the producer. These are the negative externalities. An example of a negative externality is pollution. It affects others even when they are not involved with the transaction. Negative externalities are shown on the graph by the marginal social cost line. The marginal social cost line is the private marginal cost plus the cost of the negative externalities. This line factors in both the costs to the producer and third parties. It is the total cost to society to make the good. This line forms the equilibrium point, point B, at quantity Q1. Here the total costs are equal to the total benefit. This means that Q1 is the most efficient quantity for society as a whole. The individual business will have a lower amount of profit than at Q, but it will cost third parties much less. The red region shows where this occurs. Here the costs to society as a whole exceed the good's benefit. Point B is the ideal equilibrium point. Therefore, Q1 is the ideal quantity of goods. In a free market, however, businesses will produce quantity Q because it is best for them. In order to reach Q1, organizations like governments may try to add regulations or taxes, transferring the costs from the third parties to the consumers. The costs to the third parties will be paid by the tax the consumer pays when buying the good. This moves the equilibrium point to Q1, where the system is at maximum efficiency and the economy does better. Woohoo! I was in last place! Oh, wow. Congratulations. You know what I love about NASCAR? The smell of them engines. Oh, man. The pollution. Terrible emissions. You know, fella, the smell of that burning rubber after I watch someone else win the race, oh man, that's something. So much pollution. This is why I can't catch fish anymore. The oceans are getting wrecked. Here, the purchase and consumption of tires and fuel by the NASCAR driver negatively affects the fishermen through pollution, even though there's no transaction between the fishermen and the NASCAR driver themselves. This is an example of a negative externality.